The Toronto Raptors just wrapped up their summer league, so what did we learn about recent 13th overall pick Gradey Dick? Is he ready to step up into this huge role for the team that desperately needs shooters? Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the YouTube channel that's dedicated to Toronto Raptors content in videos, live streams, and shorts. If you like what you see from today's video, please make sure to hit that like button, and if you want more content just like it all throughout the offseason, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're getting very close to 15,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. Topic of conversation is Gradey Dick. We saw him in 4 out of the 5 games in Summer League, and we got a pretty good look into exactly what this player can be for the team and what we can maybe expect from him and expect his impact to be this season based on what we saw. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the full scope of what Gradey Dick could be because of some issues with the roster. Gradey Dick, I mean, we didn't draft this guy to be a future superstar, a guy that we have this insanely high ceiling for. We drafted Gradey Dick because his ceiling is expected to be an elite role player, somebody who performs the specific role as a shooter and doing other things along the side, but complementing the best players on the team. So Gradey Dick in his best role is complementary to the other great players, and the Raptors as of now have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, etc., which Gradey Dick can come and help space the floor and help these guys and help the team in general with the shooting, because my goodness, the Raptors are lacking in the shooting department. But as I mentioned, we weren't able to get the full scope of what Gradey Dick could be because there wasn't much to complement from the Toronto Raptors Summer League. We did a full video about it last week, but the Summer League roster was an absolute disaster for the Raptors, and specifically, it was a disaster in the shooting categories. The Raptors could not make three-pointers to save their life in Summer League, and as a result, Gradey Dick being one of the only good three-point shooters in the team, he was consistently getting run off the three-point line. So we weren't able to get the full scope of what Gradey Dick could be, but let's take a look as to exactly what we did get from these Summer League games. So for starters, let's talk about Gradey Dick's performances in Summer League and how they really had a bit of a crescendo. They kind of got better and better as it went on. I think in the first game, he had a real adjustment phase here because he did not perform at his best at all in this first Summer League game, where he put up 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists on only 25% shooting from the field, 3 of 12 shooting from the field, and this was a game where consistently, like I said, he was getting run off the three-point line, but he really wasn't getting run off the three-point line more than he did in Game 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 38% shooting from the field, and 33% from 3. That was 1 of 3 from 3. Where we saw improvements here was that he showed a bit more of a willingness to step inside and hit his mid-range jumpers, which he proved to be very effective at, and he started to affect the game in more ways as he kind of settled into things. But the last 2 games that he played in, Games 3 and Games 4, was where he really thrived here. The roster, as I said, was abysmal. They went 1-4 in Summer League, and the only reason maybe they got to win is because the NBA kind of threw the Warriors and Raptors a bone here. Both teams were 0-4 heading into the 5th game, so they pitted them against each other and said, well, one of you's got to win a game, and a big part was Gradey Dick's performance in that game as well. He combined in both games for an average of 21.5 points per game, put up a good amount of rebounds as well, and started to find that efficiency. 42% from the field in Games 3 and 50% from the field in that 5th game, but also was great as he added in 3 of 5 shooting from 3. So got more adjusted to Summer League as it went on, and this is not atypical for a player like Gradey Dick, who is that complementary player and doesn't rely as much on his athleticism. It can be a real shock. Like, it very much is underestimated by a lot of people, just the sheer difference in athleticism and physicality from college basketball to NBA basketball, even if it is just Summer League. Like, the difference in physicality is monumental. So for a player who's not the best athlete, not the most physical player like Gradey Dick, it can be a bit of a culture shock almost. So coming into the NBA, I think that's where we can attribute some of the struggles for Gradey Dick out of the gate. Also, you know, playing with all these new players who he's never played with before, and also playing with a pretty incomplete and mishandled roster from the Raptors front office, not putting talented players on this team and not putting enough shooting or offensive initiators in this team. But we don't need to go into all that stuff again. He did adapt, and that's a great thing to see from Gradey Dick, his ability to adapt to these situations and prove to be vital for the on-court product of the team. So where I see the good things happening for Gradey Dick, this is what was very, very exciting to me watching him in Summer League. The biggest thing that I gathered is that when he is getting run off the three-point line, because, hey, the shooting's not going to improve much when he gets to the NBA level. The current Toronto Raptors team also has many three-point shooting problems, as you already know as a viewer here, but his ability to adapt. So there are guys like Joe Wieskamp and just guys like, in previous time with the Raptors, Matt Thomas, who are exceptional three-point shooters, but other than shooting threes, I mean, Joe Wieskamp was excellent in that fifth game to Warriors as well, but other than shooting threes, there can be some problems there. They're not the best at getting themselves open. They're not the best at shooting in tight situations. So if they're not able to get the three-point ball off, sure, just merely being on the court, it's a little bit of extra space because that brings the defender closer to the perimeter, but it's just not enough here. Gradey Dick had multiple tools to hurt defenses even when he was getting run off the three-point line. As I said, he can step in and hit a variety of different mid-range shots, whether he is off his 2 feet, whether he's off balance a little bit, can find his teammates as well. The assist, they were come and go for the player, but I'm not as concerned about for the player. And also, in the rebounding category, had different ways to affect the game over there. So just multiple ways that he can score rather than just shooting three-pointers. But he also has a very good ability to adapt to how open he's going to be. And I think in the NBA, he's going to be a lot more open. It's down to hitting these shots. But the best trait that I noticed from Gradey Dick when it came to the Summer League performances was his ability to shoot off the catch. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not just a catch and shoot, but to shoot off the catch. Most players, maybe yourself, you catch the ball, you wind up in your form, you take your three-point shot. But for Gradey Dick, when necessary, he can just catch and immediately go up and shoot. There's no wind, there's no bringing it down. It's catch here in the shooting pocket, up and shoot. So already being a tall shooting guard, small forward to 6'7", already being tall for a typical shooter that you would see in the NBA, if he is being guarded by smaller players, he can absolutely torch them with this, because if they're not already up on him with their hand in his face, he's going to have an easy open shot over that player because his ability to shoot so quickly off the catch. This is a very, very necessary skill for a player like him to develop. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but not many players have it. It very much seems as though Gradey Dick has it from what we saw in Summer League, but also from what we saw from him in Kansas in his college days. Now, along with what we saw here, his ability to shoot off movement, that could do with maybe a little bit more fine-tuning, but it is something good, and I think it is something that definitely Darko Rajakovic is going to want to work with. I imagine Gradey Dick is going to be coming off of the bench. Gary Trent Jr. is going to be the starting shooting guard for this team. So I'm really excited to see what sort of movement we can get out of Gary Trent Jr. for shooting. And I'm very excited to see how Gradey Dick is also going to be employed by Darko Rajakovic to not only get the most out of Gradey Dick's game, but if we are getting the most out of Gradey Dick's game, we are also in turn going to be able to get more out of the other players in the team because Gradey Dick is providing that extra space to those players with the shooting. So it's good that the players showed an ability to adapt to the situation, adapt to playing with a not great team, adapt to playing with a team that doesn't have many shooters here, because when it comes to shooters, the Raptors definitely have some problems here. Now, as far as solving that issue for the team, I was very much hoping that the Raptors would bring in 2 movement shooters in the offseason. And they have 3 acquisitions, really. I mean, Jakob Pro returns to the team. Fred VanVleet unfortunately left, but 3 players did come into the team, including Gradey Dick, and I wanted 2 of them to address the shooting needs. So as far as the just shooting in general, Gradey Dick, excellent draft pick at 13th overall. There were other movement shooters like Jordan Hawkins available, but Gradey Dick was the far superior player. We were lucky to have him fall to 13th overall. So even though he's not the best movement shooter, he is clearly the best shooter, period, in this draft class. And the Raptors can work on different things to get some more out of the movement shooting here, but there doesn't need to be too much here because of the talent that he has, not just in shooting, because he has so many other tools in his bag. Not the deepest bag, but there are other tools in his bag, as I mentioned previously, that can allow for the team to be successful. Now, where the problems can still come here, Gradey Dick has solved the shooting necessity for the bench 100%, but maybe where we haven't solved things that we need more shooting. Dennis Schroeder was brought into the team to replace Fred VanVleet, and Dennis Schroeder, not really a shooter here. He averages in the low 30s, and people say, well, Fred VanVleet shot in the low 30s. Just a simple three-point percentage is not going to define what a player brings to the team. Fred VanVleet, yeah, he shot 33%. Dennis Schroeder shot around 32%. Far less volume and far less respect. Nobody's really going over a screen to defend Dennis Schroeder off a jump shot, so especially from 3. So they're going to go under the screen, and he's going to be a lot easier to defend than what Fred VanVleet, because nobody would really dare go under a screen for Fred VanVleet. This is what allowed him and Pirtle's pick and roll to be so effective, is because you don't go under the screen, because you fear the jump shot. And you fear, hey, this guy shoots 10 threes a game, makes 33% of them. That accounts for quite a bit of the points the Raptors put on the board. So volume, respect the player gets, these are factors here, which Dennis Schroeder just does not provide for the team. So the spacing naturally constricts a little bit when Dennis Schroeder is on the court because of that. And in comparison to Fred VanVleet, Dennis Schroeder, a fine player, but the team needed a bit more shooting, wasn't provided there. Also, with the biannual exception, I get it. There wasn't a lot you could really do with the biannual exception. As far as the value goes, Jalen McDaniels on $4.5 million a year is very, very good. I think I gave him a bit of a harsh critique when we first signed him because it didn't address his shooting, which I'm still upset about. But for $4.5 million, Jalen McDaniels is a good player. It's just another player that doesn't address the need for shooting on this team. So where we're going to have to heavily rely on our shooting in the starting five, because I'm expecting Barnes to play as point guard, is Gary Trent Jr. A lot of shooting there. OG's a good shooter, but he's a catch-and-shoot guy. He's a standstill shooter from three. He only takes about 5 threes a game. So maybe we upgrade that a little bit for OG, upgrade that a little bit for Trent, who's going to be absolutely vital because he's the only actual shooter in off of movement in the starting five. OG spaces a little bit, but other than that, a lot of non-shooters in this team. Gary Trent's going to have to take a huge load there, and Gradey Dick, I mean, if he's ready for it, and from what we saw in Summer League, he's going to have to take on a massive, massive load for this team in terms of shooting the basketball and spacing the floor for this team. So where I need to see improvements for the player to be able to do that and solve these issues, I think defensively he can kind of hold his own. We'll see when he's playing next to other NBA caliber players in preseason. I'm excited to see that. But I think the biggest thing right now is that we need consistent movement, consistent shuffling of the defenses, because they are worried about him getting open for three because he's so deadly from that range. And that's going to come down to conditioning. Look, he finished school and he finished playing in March Madness. Hasn't had game experience since that point. So it's going to be about getting reps, going to be about practicing, but I think it's going to be also specific conditioning work, because for the way that the Raptors need him to play, but also for the way Gradey Dick wants himself to play out there on the court, conditioning is going to be a massive factor. Now, I'm not saying his conditioning is bad. I'm not saying that at all, but we need to be at the elite level for us to get what we want out of Gradey Dick, but also importantly, as I said, what Gradey Dick wants to get out of himself at the NBA level. That is what's going to allow him to really, really take on that big role this season, and that is going to be vital for the Raptors, who right now, as of now, want to win games this season and get into the playoffs. Gradey Dick can certainly help us do that, and if he adds in his conditioning, if he adds in the movement shooting, he is going to solve the shooting problems with this team. So what do you make of Gradey Dick's Summer League performances and Summer League performances in general? Who were you most impressed with? Who were you least impressed with? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more content like this. And my ACL is torn, so I have surgery this week. If there's less content than usual, it's because I'm recovering from surgery. I'll see you again very soon for another video.
You